after I think what was in many ways not just a successful year, but a tremendously successful one with respect to what our team was able to do collectively, what a number of individual players accomplished, and the recognition that they received for those accomplishments. Right now, my heart really goes out to them, knowing not just the work that they put in, which was substantial, and even more so given the circumstances of the season, just the investment that they made, both physically and mentally, how passionate they were. It's difficult to see the season end on the note that it did in the way that it did. And I feel lucky, blessed to have an opportunity to coach a group of men that of the level of character and also commitment that they had to our group and to the organization. And I feel the same way about our fans, and to be able to feel support from our fans at a time when not only were they not allowed in the building, or very few, but as the crescendo of the season hit, the support and the passion that you felt from them during a playoff series. And I wish we would have had a different ending, that we'd be able to continue to keep playing. Additionally, because of what they gave us, and just appreciative of all of those things from not only the fans, the players, but also the organization, for the opportunity that we have.
Okay, thank you, Coach. We'll move into questions now. The first question will be from Tony Jones, The Athletic.
Coach, now that you this might be the wrong question. I don't want to say now that you've had some time to digest it, because you guys haven't really had time. But if you could think back to the middle of the series, towards the end of the series, was there anything that could have been done that could have elicited a different outcome? And what do you guys have to do to take that next step from being a second round team to going further?
Well, I think there's always things that you feel like you want to be able to do better, and part of that, as you said, Tony, is having a chance to really go back and study the film, and see the details. There are certain things that over the course of the season that you try to anticipate, on many levels, and even whether it's before the game in terms of a plan, or having adjustments, to that plan. There were a lot of things that we tried to do at timeouts throughout the course of the game, whether it be, playing zone, changing matchups, changing rotations. And, in the end, that's something that we'll study again and look at, because the reality is we weren't able to get it done and to execute in those situations. So again, that's, something that I think we obviously not only take seriously, but pride ourselves in as a coaching staff, the work that we put in to ultimately put our players in positions where they can be successful. And, that wasn't the case last night.
Sarah Todd, Deseret News.
I guess this is kind of piggybacking off of that, because we talked to a few of the guys, and they said that there was nothing wrong with the game plan. It was just that they didn't execute. I'm sure the answer is somewhere probably in the middle. But where do you fall on that? Do you feel like that there were things that you could have done differently?
I think all of us, would agree when you don't get the outcome that you want. You reflect on it, and in the moment, as I said, I haven't had a chance to really to study it. You're just left with the emotion, of the game, particularly the swing that occurred in the game. But I just I have belief in our players. As I said, I'm grateful to have an opportunity to coach these guys. And last night was an outlier from a shooting standpoint. And you hope that over the course of a series, you can weather one of those games. But that doesn't mean you don't reflect on everything that's associated with it and try to do better. And as I said, I think there's certain things that we as a staff and our players, try to anticipate during the course of the year. Whether it's something like being able to play more zone, which is something that we looked to last night and as one example, but we'll continue to try to, to dig into those things. And as I said, as a staff, try to, to help put our players in a position where they have a chance to be successful.
Andy Larson, Salt Lake Tribune.
Quinn, feel free to quibble with me on this, but I think kind of looking at the playoffs over the last few years, one of the real assets for these teams that have won is versatility, is being able to play in multiple different ways. And I guess I'm wondering do you feel like you have the setup, the roster, do you have the ability to be versatile in the way you play? Or do you feel like it's, your best way of playing is maybe so much better than the other styles of playing that it's just kind of, and by that I mean, kind of pick and roll with Rudy and moving the ball, getting threes, and then obviously kind of playing the drop big defensive style?
Well, it's hard to argue with the success that, that we had this year. I think every year, there's conversations that take place about how to improve the team. As I said, I feel lucky to have a chance to coach the group that we have. And those are always things every year that, that we all look to do, that, I sit down with management, with Dennis, Justin, everybody puts their heads together and tries to figure out ways that we can improve. And, this year is no different than that. So, ultimately for me, my focus is on the group and what I can do, when they're on the court to maximize those guys in terms of, what we can do and how we can play.
David James, KUTV.
Quinn, I'm curious, at both ends of the floor, offensively, it seems like the teams that have been knocking you out of the playoffs over the last 5 years largely have been teams that switch quite a bit. What do you think can be done to attack those more effectively? And defensively, is just getting guys who can stay in front of the ball, is that the biggest challenge for the group?
Well, I think, to begin with the offensive side of the game, I think that's one of the things that made last night, after the game that kind of stung so much, is because we did see the way that we were able to attack, not having Mike for the early part of the series up until last game, Donovan being in the position he was in, playing through an injury. In spite of that, what we did in the first half, I think, showed our ability, to attack in those situations. And obviously we didn't get it done in the second half with a 47-point second half. And I can't remember what we scored exactly in the first half, 60 something. So, in many respects, if we have to keep scoring, that's what we need to do. We weren't able to do that. Those two guys, when they're getting in the interior and when we're breaking the paint and creating mismatch opportunities on closeouts, getting on the offensive boards, those are things that we did do and were successful doing. And again, want to continue to do more consistently. Defensively, like I said previously, I have, great respect, admiration, and belief in our guys. And, difficult night last night, particularly given whether it's Terrence Mann, having a career night, he made shots, and we started to rotate to him. We played zone. We did a lot of things, but my focus is on really what I can do, to try to help those guys. And I have tremendous belief in who they are, and how much passion they put into it and how hard they work.
Eric Walden, Salt Lake Tribune.
Hey, Quinn, obviously, these components are interconnected, but how soon are you kind of able to turn the page from kind of, re-examining kind of the granular details of what went wrong in every game or series, and kind of turn towards, bigger picture, this is what we need to do next to take that next step kind of thing?
Well, I think those things are related, Eric. Obviously it's hard to turn the page, at the end of a season when you have such a mix of emotions. You want to feel the pride that you have in the group and the success that they've had. And then anytime you're one of the 29 teams that doesn't win it, you feel the sting of that, no matter, when your season ends or in what fashion. So, trying to emotionally, recover from that is a challenge. I think a challenge for our players. I know the investment that we make and that I make to try to give us a chance to be successful. The loss itself is, you internalize it, and you internalize it, even more when you watch it and you think about how, what you could do to make it different. And, that process, is an annual one. But in this case, it's one that I think for all of us, and, you felt what this team, was capable of doing, it was doing. And then, in the end, we weren't able to get it done for, a variety of reasons. And, once you go through that and some of the emotion subsides, I think then you can turn your attention to, to some of the conclusions that you come to, and, work hard in the off season to address them. And, I think this year in particular, it's been a long road, since last March, and what our group has been able to accomplish, I think is really, really unique. And I think the enthusiasm and emotion that we felt, in the first half in particular, and then compared to the way the second half went, makes this, even more difficult to accept and process. But that's the reality of where we are, and that's the way we'll go about it. And, again, like every off season, we look for ways to get better, and this one will be no different.
Ben Anderson, KSLSports.com.
Quinn, the big question for the team, the offseason, or one of the big questions, will be Mike Conley's future. Can you reflect on your 2 years with him and what he's meant for you and your team, and what he does going, maybe, not what he does going forward, but what he would mean going forward?
Well, I mean, I've talked about Mike, over the course of his time here, and in all kinds of different contexts and ways. And, the thing that's consistent through every question I've asked about Mike is, for me, on a personal level, as much as anything, the appreciation that I have for him. Not only is he a great player, but he's one of the best human beings that I've ever had an opportunity to be with on a daily basis. And to see his work, to see his leadership, to see his play, he's someone that changes our team, not just the way that he's able to impact the game, getting in the lane, passing the ball, making shots. There's so many things that he does that are unique, and his value to us, and even to me. There's guys you lean on, and I know there was parts of this year where he wasn't able to contribute, and even the other night, for him to come back and take a shot at playing last night, and like Donovan, obviously not 100%, and, playing through, that discomfort, pain, injury. He's obviously someone that his competitiveness and commitment to the team is also unique. And as I said, there's no one that has more appreciation for what he gives, who he is. It's unique to have a guy and to feel that connected to him in a short period of time. And I have, a lot of satisfaction personally in the way that he's been able to play on the court and the level that he's been able to play. The fact that he was an all-star this year, and not only was an all-star, he had one of the best seasons of his career, which was finally recognized in selection to the all-star game. So he's obviously someone that's special to me, and I think is someone that everybody on our team could articulate what I just was asked and commented on in a similar fashion. He's just someone that's appreciated throughout our group, our organization, and a guy that you just like being with every day.
Last question will be a follow-up from Sarah Todd, Deseret News.
Quinn, with Olympic and international competition coming up, I mean, obviously, like on a personal level, I'm sure that you're happy for guys to go and play, but from a coaching perspective, with another shortened off season coming up, are you worried about some of those guys being able to come back and be ready to go for an 82 game season?
Well, that to be honest, Sarah, that's not something that I've thought about right now in the short term. That I guess that the only thing I would add is that, the guys that we have that play on their national teams, it's really something that they take great personal pride in. And as a result, I'm tuned in to all of them. I know how important it is to them. And more than anything, you want to wish them luck. And, because I do know how passionate they are. The same way they're incredibly passionate about the work that they put in with us and the Jazz during the majority of, their playing career. And they're equally committed to the Jazz, and in the short run, in those moments, have their focus there and take great pride in what they do and how they represent their specific and individual countries.